The Mamba mentality. The work nobody sees, the results everyone wants. At 4 in the morning, the city of Los Angeles is asleep. The freeways are empty, the lights are off, the world is quiet. But somewhere in a gym in Orange County, a man is already drenched in sweat. He has been here for an hour. He will be here for 3 more. His name is Kobe Bean Bryant. He's 23 years old. He has already won a championship. He will win 4 more. And the reason, the only reason, is what happens in these hours. The hours nobody sees. The hours nobody talks about. The hours that separate the great from the legendary. This is not a story about talent. Kobe was not the most talented player to ever touch a basketball. He was not the tallest. He was not the fastest. He was not the strongest. He was simply the one who refused to be outworked by anyone, ever. This is the story of the Mamba mentality, the philosophy that turned a teenager from Lower Merion, Pennsylvania, into one of the 5 greatest basketball players who ever lived. The 4 a.m. sessions. Kobe's training schedule was not human. It was something else entirely. While his teammates slept, while his opponents rested, while the entire league recovered from the previous game, Kobe was already in the gym, 4 in the morning, every single day. He did not train for an hour. He trained for 4 hours before practice even started. Then he went to team practice. Then he trained for another 2 hours after practice ended. 6 to 8 hours of basketball, every day, for 20 years. When the United States Olympic team gathered in 2008 for the Beijing Olympics, the trainer, a man who had worked with elite athletes his entire life, arrived at the gym at 4:15 in the morning for a private session with Kobe. Kobe was already there, soaked in sweat. He had started at 3:30. The trainer asked him, "When did you plan to finish?" Kobe looked at him and said, "When I make 800 shots, not attempts, makes. 800 made shots." He did not leave until he hit that number. It took until 11 a.m., 7.5 hours. Then he went to team practice at 2 p.m. Then he trained again that evening. This was not a special day. This was Tuesday. This was every day. This was the baseline. When people asked Kobe why he trained so early, he had a simple answer. He said, "If I start at 4, I can train twice before anyone else trains once. And if I do that every day for 10 years, where do you think the gap will be?" The obsession with detail. Kobe did not just outwork his opponents physically, he studied them. He watched more game film than any player in NBA history. He could tell you from memory the tendencies of every single player he faced, which direction they prefer to drive, which foot they pivot on, how they react when trapped, what they do in the 4th quarter when they are tired. He studied Hakeem Olajuwon's footwork in the post, not because Kobe played center, but because he believed great footwork is great footwork, regardless of position. He studied Michael Jordan's movements frame by frame. He studied the way a cheetah attacks its prey, the deceleration, the angles, the patience before the strike. Once he said, "I studied everything. I studied the greats. But I also studied music. I studied history. I studied how great composers build tension and release. I looked for patterns everywhere, because the game is about patterns. If you can see them before your opponent does, you win." This is what separated Kobe from players who were arguably more gifted. Tracy McGrady might have had a smoother natural stroke. Allen Iverson might have been quicker. Vince Carter might have been more explosive. But none of them studied like Kobe. None of them prepared like Kobe. And when the game was on the line, none of them had the deep, structural understanding of every possibility that Kobe had built through thousands of hours of study. Preparation was not something he did before the game. Preparation was the game. The 48 minutes on the court were simply the exam. Kobe had already taken the exam 1,000 times in his mind. The mentality, the Mamba mentality, is not about basketball. It is about the decision to be so prepared that fear becomes irrelevant. It is the refusal to let any moment be bigger than your preparation. It is the willingness to fail in front of 20,000 people and not flinch. Kobe shot more missed shots than almost anyone in NBA history. He's on the all-time list for missed field goals. He airballed 4 shots in a playoff game when he was 18 years old. The crowd laughed. His teammates looked away. The media said he was too young, too arrogant, too willing to shoot. The next morning, he was in the gym at 5, shooting the exact same shots, hundreds of times, until the muscle memory was so deep that missing was no longer a possibility, only a temporary setback in an infinite process. He said, "I have nothing against missing. Missing tells me I am trying something at the edge of my ability. If I am not missing, I am not growing. The shots I miss today are the shots I make tomorrow. That is the contract." This mentality, this complete immunity to embarrassment, to public failure, to criticism, is what allowed him to take the last shot in games, over and over, when everyone in the arena knew the ball was going to Kobe, and the defense knew the ball was going to Kobe, and Kobe knew the defense knew. He still wanted it. Because he had taken that shot 10,000 times in an empty gym. The crowd was irrelevant. The defense was irrelevant. The pressure was irrelevant. He had done this before, 1,000 times. The injuries. In April 2013, Kobe tore his Achilles tendon, the worst injury a basketball player can suffer. Most players who tear their Achilles at age 34 never play again. Those who do are never the same. The explosive athleticism, the ability to cut and accelerate, it dies with the tendon. Kobe walked to the free throw line on a torn Achilles. He shot both free throws. He made them both. Then he walked off the court under his own power. A torn Achilles, and he refused to be carried. He came back. It took 8 months of rehabilitation, 8 months of the same obsessive 4 a.m. mentality applied to physical therapy instead of basketball. He came back and played 3 more seasons. Not because his body allowed it. His body was destroyed. But because his mind refused to accept that it was over. Before the Achilles, he had played through a broken finger on his shooting hand for an entire season. He had played through a torn rotator cuff. He had played through knee injuries that would have sidelined other stars for weeks. Each time, the response was the same. Figure out how to play through it, adapt, overcome, never stop. He once said, "Pain is temporary. It might last a minute, or an hour, or a day, or a year. But eventually, it subsides. And when it does, something else takes its place. If I quit, however, it lasts forever." The final game. On April 13th, 2016, Kobe Bryant played his last game. He was 37 years old. His body was held together by willpower and painkillers. He had announced his retirement months earlier. This was the final performance. He scored 60 points, 60 in his final game at 37. With a body that doctors said should not have been on a basketball court, he took 50 shots. He made 22 of them. He willed his team back from a 15-point deficit in the fourth quarter. He hit shot after shot after shot, as if the last 20 years of training had compressed into 48 minutes of pure, distilled Mamba. When it was over, he stood at center court and said two words that became immortal. Mamba out. Then he dropped the microphone, and the greatest individual farewell in sports history was complete. 60 points in the last game. That does not happen by accident. That does not happen because of talent. That happens because a man spent 20 years preparing for every single moment, including the last one. You see, in life, in your life, the Mamba mentality is not about basketball. It never was. It is about the question, are you willing to do what nobody else will do in order to have what nobody else will have? Are you willing to wake up at 4 when everyone sleeps until 8? Are you willing to study when everyone else relaxes? Are you willing to fail publicly over and over while the world laughs and keep shooting anyway? Most people are not willing. That is fine. The world needs people who are comfortable. But if you are watching this, if something in you refuses to settle, then the Mamba mentality is your blueprint. It is not complicated. It is simple. But simple does not mean easy. It means decide what you want. Then work for it with an intensity that makes everyone around you uncomfortable. Do it when nobody is watching. Do it when it hurts. Do it when you do not want to. Do it when you have already done enough, and then do more. Kobe said, "The separation in the work you are willing to do that nobody else will. That is where the gap is created. That is where champions are made. Not in the gym, in the dark, in the quiet, at 4 in the morning, when the rest of the world is asleep." This is Dare to Do Motivation, real life stories. Thank you so much for watching, and stay blessed.